I'm Ann Anderson Evans. Thank you. I'm really, I'm really happy that we're having this award ceremony in the library, because the library and the park were both created at the same time, the same time when in America there was a political idea that the money should all go to the rich people, and they would decide what we all wanted and give it to us. And Andrew Carnegie decided that we all needed public libraries. And so he started public libraries, of which this is one. It's a contemporary of the first ones. And my great-grandfather decided that people needed parks. So we have Anderson Park. That was a different era. Well, maybe not so different. I don't know, depends. Anyway, the stories this year, I don't know what to think. They were better than previous years. They're just, maybe you who are students or parents have some idea why this is true. Have people had a creative resurgence because of COVID, or I don't know why. But every year, as Lisanne wrote in your introduction or the announcement, it renews my faith in the future to read these stories. They just blow me away every year. I'm going to read the first one. I have to restrain myself because today is Madhuja's birthday, and we are not going to sing happy birthday. Perhaps if it spontaneously arises at some time in the future, that would be nice, but we want to honor your birthday, Madhuja. I mean, what did you do to have such a special day? Honor your mother for your birthday. Her story is called Fairy Tales by Madhuja Ghosh. It started off a day like any other, a warm Saturday morning with Amelia's brothers wrestling in the upstairs hallway, banging into doors and furniture. Amelia heard the inevitable bang of the broken playroom doorknob snap and fall to the ground. She groaned and yanked the covers back over her head. "Amelia, breakfast is ready." Amelia's stepmother, Daphne, called. "And boys, stop wrestling. I made your favorite pancakes." James and Toby immediately perked up and ran downstairs. How could they not see through Daphne's sheer evil? She was like the classic stepmother in all the fairy tales Amelia had ever read. Daphne comes in, all sickeningly sweet and perfect, offering to take over all the roles a mother would usually fill. Amelia and her family didn't need another mother, especially not one like Daphne. Didn't Daphne understand she was not wanted? Amelia sighed and trudged downstairs. The rest of her family was seated at the table, enjoying a breakfast of pancakes, waffles, bacon, eggs, and orange juice. Daphne beamed at Amelia and patted the only spot left next to her. Amelia frowned. I'm not really hungry, so I think I'll just go back to my room, if that's okay. Amelia started heading back towards the stairs. "Hold on there, sweetie," her father called. "Daphne worked so hard to make us this amazing breakfast. The least you could do is sit down with us and try it." "Dad, don't you see what she's trying to do?" Amelia tried to send brainwaves to her father, but receiving no response, plopped back down on her seat. She took a tiny bit of pancake. "So what do you think?" Daphne eagerly asked. "It's kind of dry. Mom's were a lot better," Amelia said. Daphne frowned. "Oh, okay." Amelia's father glared at her, signaling he was mad. Amelia got up and said, "Well, I tried it, and now I'm going to the park. Bye." She grabbed her book of fairy tales and her shoes and ran out the door before anyone could say anything else. Before she died, Amelia and her mother shared a special bond with fairy tales. Every weekend morning, they would go to Anderson Park and read together. It was their special thing, and what Amelia looked forward to all week. Even after her mother passed away, Amelia just couldn't let go of the tradition, and her family always respected that she needed to do this. But now that Daphne was here, it was a whole new story. Her dad wanted everyone to spend the weekend mornings together more often, and that cut into Amelia's reading time. It was horrible. Amelia sighed. But for now, at least, she could sit back and relax. As she wandered through Anderson Park, she found the tree she was looking for. It was the special oak tree that Amelia and her mother always sat down against when they read fairy tales together. They had a special book of compiled fairy tales. Amelia had memorized every single one of them, but didn't mind reading them again. She liked the same comforting, happy endings they contained. Amelia had been sitting there for around an hour when she heard her father's voice behind her. "Hey, Amelia, we all decided to come join you for a family picnic in the park." Amelia groaned internally and plastered on a fake smile. "Great, I'm coming, just give me 1 second." The rest of her family went off to find a good spot to lay down their things. Amelia sighed. For her, Anderson Park had been the only safe refuge she had left since Daphne had taken over her home. It was the only place where she could experience the comfort and memories of reading with her mother. If Daphne came here as well, there would be no place left for Amelia to go. She got up and walked over to the checkered blanket that her so-called family was sitting on. "Hi, honey. We ordered some pizza, and I dug out your mom's old recipe books and made her famous fruit salad." Daphne beamed at Amelia, holding out one of her mother's books. No, she didn't. She wouldn't." Amelia's brain raced. How dare Daphne touch her mother's old recipe books? Amelia's mother had told her that the recipe books would go to her, not some nosy stepmother. Also, where did Daphne get off calling her honey? How could her father allow this to happen? Amelia shakily took the recipe book. She flipped through the pages when she saw something that made her blood boil. "Daphne, did you do this?" Amelia held out a page that had been almost ripped from the book itself. Daphne smiled. "Oh, honey, I'm sorry. I must have done that when I was flipping through the book. But I promise it's repairable. We can piece it together." Daphne smiled apologetically and reached out to take the book from Amelia's hands. Amelia glared at Daphne and held it tighter. "No," she said. "No, you don't deserve this. You come into my life trying to take over my mother's role. You brainwash my dad and my brothers, and now you are destroying what was supposed to be my memories of my mother. I hate you, Daphne. I hate you." Amelia screamed and ran. The last thing she saw was Daphne's tear-streaked face. Amelia ran to the very edge of Anderson Park. There she curled up against a rock. She felt bad about making Daphne cry like that. Then again, didn't Daphne deserve it? But she was only trying to help out with Amelia's family. Amelia's brain argued with itself for a while like that, until her feeling of guilt overwhelmed everything. Why couldn't she just have told Daphne how she was feeling? Why did she do this? Daphne didn't deserve what Amelia said. Daphne had been trying so hard to fit in and help out. As Amelia sat there crying, thinking about what she had done, she heard a voice. "Amelia, honey?" Are you there? Amelia sniffled and wiped her tears. Hello? Daphne burst into the little clearing Amelia was sitting in and wrapped her arms around her. Oh, honey, I thought we'd never find you. Oh, I'm so sorry. I never meant to make you feel this way or ruin your mother's recipe book. Amelia's eyes widened. You'll never love me, she said. You mean you still care about me, even after what I did to you? Daphne looked at Amelia, confused. Of course, Amelia. I was worried sick about you. No matter what you think of me, I will always be there to make sure you're okay. Amelia smiled. Daphne, I'm the one who should be sorry. I treated you like garbage when you were giving your all to make life easier for me, my dad, and my brothers. I never should have treated you like that. I hope we can start over. Amelia hopefully looked up at Daphne. Of course we can, honey. Now let's go find everyone else to let them know we found you. Daphne held Amelia's hand and started walking back, but Amelia hesitated. Daphne, would you like to maybe read some fairy tales with me at the park later? Daphne turned back towards Amelia, silent for a moment, overcome with a flood of emotions. Of course I would, Daphne softly said, smiling gently at Amelia, who beamed. As they ran off to find the rest of their family, Amelia noticed the sun setting down over the trees in Anderson Park. It was breathtaking. Daphne and Amelia slowed to a walk as they gazed at the fiery ball descending into the trees. You know, maybe my dad and my brothers can wait a little longer, Amelia said. Daphne smiled. I agree. That's really a lovely story. Lovely story. So when we give out these awards, I am a writer myself, and I can tell you, the first time you ever get paid for something that you've written is a very, very big day. And all three of you today are getting paid for what you wrote. There's a check for $100 for each of you and a certificate, and I don't know what all Lisanne has put in here. This is for you, my Doja. So you all have a very special treat today, too. One of my favorite people in the world has come to read for you. Charles Laughlin, he's a former all kinds of things. You can't imagine how many things he's done. And now he's the executive, well, let me see if I can get this. He is the executive director of the Unitarian Universalist Action, New Jersey, doing all the good stuff. And he's a former actor, and this is your big chance, Charles. Regain your
no
former
pressure,
glory.
right? Thanks for the invitation to read today. Ann.
I'm so glad you could come.
So I'm going to share with you The Hollow in the Tree, which is by Madison Fulwatana. Hello. My name is Madison, and I'm here to tell you about a crazy event that happened to me and my best friend Kimberly that changed our lives and the way we looked at the world forever. It was March 13th, 2023, the day of Kim's birthday, and I wanted to surprise her by going to a new cafe, which we had never gone to, because I was almost always going to go to my grandparents' house for the weekend. But finally, I had managed to work things out with my grandparents, so I would go to their house the next weekend to be able to hang out with my friends. On the way, the plan was to go through Anderson Park, which was the quickest route. And that is where this story begins. It was a bright day with chipmunks and squirrels running in the tallish grass and climbing trees while the sky was a beautiful color of blues. and with swirls of white clouds. It was a peaceful, bright day as Kim and I walked along the path of the park, watching kids play around and chase each other. And a few hours before I had met up with Kim, I had texted our friends Mara and Bia telling them to meet me and Kim at the new cafe on Maple Street called the Boba Cafe to surprise her. Kim loves to drink boba tea, so why not surprise her and take her to get some at the new cafe? On the way, Kim said she saw the perfect tree to climb. So I let her, but I told her to be quick. And she nodded and circled the tree several times, looking for the best angle to start climbing. She decided to go from a spot on the other side of the tree where I couldn't see her, so I stood by the tree when suddenly Kim screamed, and the scream was quickly cut off. "Kim?" I said, my voice full of fear. "Kim!" I repeated once more, and I ran around the thick trunk of the tree, and when I got to the other side, Kim was nowhere to be found. Had she been kidnapped? Had she been abducted? So many fears went around in my head as I searched the area. And after I was too tired to search, I went back to the tree Kim had disappeared by, and I cried my heart out. "Oh, I'm so sorry, Kim," I said through angry tears. I was mad at myself. "Get it together. Get it together," I said, and I decided to go over to the other side of the tree where she started climbing. And then I saw the same branch she started climbing on, and I reached for it. I mean, after how short she was, how in the world did she ever reach it? But then, as I grabbed the branch, I tripped into the tree, but I went through it before I crashed. Suddenly, I realized I was no longer in Anderson Park. I slowly blinked on the ground of this new place, and I started to look at my surroundings. While I was outside, the grass, it was almost like an aqua or turquoise color, and so were the trees. It was really pretty in the area, and the sky. The sky was a pinkish purple color, showing that it was late afternoon. I didn't bother to get up, still really wowed by the area where Kim was. I knew it. And knowing her, she wouldn't immediately go back out where she came from. She would explore, which was what I was going to do. "Maddie?" It was Kim's voice, but when I looked up at her, she looked a little different. I mean, her skin was tealish. Her hair was pastel blues and purples, and she had two small pointed spikes on her forehead, which were the same color as her skin. "Who are you?" I asked, making sure it was Kim. "Dummy, it's me, Kim," she laughed as if it were obvious. "But you don't look like yourself," I said, still confused. I was questioning what happened to Kim, and very concerned as well. I mean, what had happened to her while I couldn't find her? Was this really Kim? "Yeah, I figured out a while ago, but wow, you look really pretty as well," she said, seeing my face and trying to be positive as always. And then I replayed what she had just said, and immediately I looked up and down at myself, scared and kind of excited to see what I looked like. I did look pretty. I had pastel purple skin. My hair had blues like Kim's, but closer to the shade of the ocean's color. And I had two antennae, almost like a snail's, but without the eyes on top. "Wow, I guess I do look pretty," I said, calmer now. Kim helped me up, and I asked her what she had been doing. Her eyes lit up with what almost looked like millions of sparkles out of excitement. "Thank you so much for asking, but I can't tell you. I need to show you." She said that through the smiles. "Come on, Maddie, I need to show you everything," Kim yelled out to me after running away. And I followed my friend into a bush and found on the other side were shades of blues and teals, purples and pinks. And then I saw what looked like a very small village full of small homes and small rivers and pretty fairy lights on branches of nearby trees. The homes were very colorful as well. They were filled with all different pastel colors. There were so many different creatures. One looked like a rabbit, but the fur was a pink color and it had antlers with different shades of aqua and purple. Another creature looked like a wolf, but 5 times bigger than a regular one. And they were friendly too. The wolf-like creature had a pastel green color on its fur, and the eyes had a shade of light blue. You're able to ride the wolves if you want to. They have bags hanging on either side of their back if you want them to hold your belongings. Do you want to ride one? Kim had asked me. And obviously, she had already ridden one. After all, those were her favorite animals. I was so excited to go on one of those wolves. I went up to one without giving her an answer, and I put my hand up to this mythical creature, seeing if it would let me pet it. Her name is Minty, Kim had said. She's really nice, and she's been looking for an owner for a long time now. Now, I was wondering exactly how Kim knew all this. I was so confused. Kim had been here for almost the same amount of time that I had been here, and yet she knows more about this place than I did. I only knew one type of creature. Kim, how do you know all this exactly? I finally asked her. Well, I asked someone and they told me time goes by much faster here, Kim replied. It looks like Minty has found her new owner, though. And she continued looking at me. Oh, no. No, I can't take her. We have to get back to Anderson Park to get to the Boba Cafe for your birthday. Kim, don't you know how we get out of here? Well, Kim looked at me then and looked at Minty. She was just smiling, her tongue out. Come on, don't you want to explore? Kim had said to me with a smile on her face, still looking over her shoulder at Minty. Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah, I kind of want to, I told her, still looking surprised by her and everything surrounding me. It's just like I'm getting attached to this place every minute we're here. So I want to know a lot more. I do, but I like it a lot, Kim had replied, acting like she wanted to be there for the rest of her life or something. Okay, but if you're getting attached to this place, and I'm probably going to, soon, so we may need to get you out of here, I said. Minty, show us the way out of here. Minty bent down, gesturing for us to jump on her back to ride her. On the way, I told Kim that for her birthday, I was inviting other people to celebrate with us. Wait, what? Well, why didn't you tell me? Who did you invite? She replied, surprised. Well, I wanted it to be a surprise for your birthday, Kim, but before I met up with you at Anderson Park, I texted Maria and Bea to come to meet us at the Boba Cafe to surprise you, and we could all celebrate together, I said cheerfully. But as you know, things got a little different. Somehow we ended up in a whole different type of world. I really wish I could text them and hope they could somehow wait for a little. I paused for a moment. At the same time, I remembered that I still had my phone on me, and Kim had her watch. Maddie, Wi-Fi doesn't work here, she said simply. Wait, what? Really? Then how do we get out? I exclaimed. I'll show you soon, but for now, we explore. She yelled, and Minty heard all of this and decided to run off toward a glow I was just now seeing come into view. And I closed my eyes because it looked like we were going to run into a tree, and I braced myself for the smash. And just then, I heard the other half of Kim's scream as we got ready to hit the tree. But Minty kept going, and then I was on the ground with Kim in Anderson Park. We were back. Was it just a dream? Did I just imagine it? Then Kim said, "Oh, I wanted to stay longer, so I guess it wasn't just a dream." Come on, we're going to be late for your party. And hey, what happened today? Well, let's not talk about this in public, okay? I told her as she muttered, "Oh, fine." And then we got back to walking so we could hurry over to the cafe to meet Maria and Bea to finally celebrate Kim's birthday. Just in time, too. I looked back at the tree only a couple of times before we got out of Anderson Park, but I never stopped walking. Even today, I still look for the tree, but I'm never able to find it. Even after all the unsuccessful searching, though, I will never forget my magical adventure with Kim.
All right. This is for you, my dear. Come and get it.
And Desmond McBride. This is Desmond's story, which is entitled Bird Brain. Johnson was an ornithologist. He loved birds, and he loved learning more about them. So, of course, he loved living near Anderson Park, a massive area of land where birds were always near. Whenever he was down, he could walk to a beautiful park, stroll about the grass, and walk near the creek and see and learn more about his feathered friends. Because of this, Johnson was a happy man, but his one dream still eluded him. That goal was to find and name a new kind of bird. And one fine spring morning, Johnson woke up, went through his morning routine, and set out to the park to achieve his dream. Johnson walked the whole path. He looked at and around every tree. He listened to every sound, but to no avail. At last, he thought to check near the creek. So Johnson meandered about the creekside, looking and listening. Then suddenly, he heard something. The noise he heard was certainly a bird call. 3 notes, starting low, but reaching a high point at the end. Johnson managed to record the sound with his phone. But despite his searching, the bird itself was nowhere to be seen. Still, though, he had evidence. He went home and he went onto a bird watching site, and he submitted the call to this site. Now, several people noted that it was not a recognized bird call, and they asked Johnson what he would name the bird. Well, Johnson thought for a minute and came up with a perfect name. He would call the bird the Anderson's bird for the lovely place where it lived. After this, a long waiting game began. See, Johnson went to the park every day to search for this bird, checking and waiting and listening for hours and hours on end, yet to no avail. Days began to turn to weeks. Johnson talked to the experts, did hours of research, built feeders and nests, but still nothing. And after nearly a month of the hunt, Johnson found his second piece of evidence. A rather unusual feather. The feather was green with orange, yellow, and reddish freckles. Johnson had never seen a feather anything like this before. So he went home, photographed it, and posted it on the same bird watching site as before. Now, many thought the feather was fake. Others thought it was real, yet Johnson would not be swayed. There was a new bird. It lived near him, and he was going to do something about it. Johnson was once again thrust into a period of waiting. There were no more calls, no more feathers, nothing to prove the bird existed other than what Johnson already had. And this continued for a long while, almost 2 months of nonstop nothing. Now, most people would have given up by this point. But Johnson was determined to find this bird, even if he was starting to go a little crazy. He wasn't sleeping as much, he was abandoning some hobbies, and he was starting to smell a bit off. But Johnson thought nothing of it until one morning he got up and he could barely move. Finally, Johnson decided that this was too much, and he booked an appointment with his doctor. And on the drive there, Johnson thought about the future and what would happen after he found the bird. What would he do then? What would his new goals be? After the short drive, Johnson reached his doctor. And after walking up the stairs and sitting in the waiting room for a bit, Johnson was finally called to go see his doctor. After explaining his plight and receiving a checkup, Johnson's doctor gave his verdict. "You seem to be fatigued," he noted. "Head home, get some rest for a day or two." Well, Johnson thanked the doctor and saw himself out. But on the drive home, Johnson knew that he might lose the bird if he got some rest for a day or two. So the doctor's advice was out, and Johnson was going back to Anderson Park. So Johnson went back to the creek, determined that he would find the bird. And after just 5 minutes of searching, Johnson noticed an abundance of the strange feathers under a large tree. So Johnson climbed up the tree with some effort, and he found a model? A remarkably well-made papier-mâché bird covered in the strange feathers sitting in a handmade bird nest. And Johnson noticed a speaker, and he turned it on, and he heard the bird call he had recorded on his phone almost a month ago. He picked the bird up, and he found a web address, which he put into his phone. The site was for an art project, talking about how the bird was the final project an art student had made for his class and how it represented people's effect on nature. This, Johnson decided, was enough, and it was time to go home and get some sleep.
Desmond, this is for you. Thank you. Weren't they wonderful?
Yes.
And Charles, you acted yourself. So, there are some cupcakes in the back for Madusha's birthday. And if we run out of cupcakes, you can have a cookie. Anyway, I hope that you will encourage your friends to enter next year's contest. And you came in late, right? And you missed Madusha? Yeah. So it's being recorded, so you'll be able to see it, what you missed on, what is the number, 30? It'll be on YouTube. Oh, excellent.
Should we sing happy birthday since we have
Would you?
here?
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Madusha. Happy birthday to you. What? Oh, yeah. Ooh, sorry.
Before you all go for the goodies, I've met a lot of you already, but those of you I haven't met, I'm Lisanne Renner with Friends of Anderson Park, along with Ann. I wanted to thank our judges. I know at least 2 of the judges are here. Could the judges stand up and wave? There's Michael Laser back there. He was one of the judges. And Ann was one of the judges. Are there either of the other two judges able to make it today? Okay, so as you heard, this is being recorded, and it'll be on YouTube probably in about 2 weeks, or? About a week. Okay, so I'll let you know by email when it's available, so if you have grandparents or relatives or whatever that live far away and couldn't make it, they can tune in and watch it. I also feel like because this is on camera, but our winners really didn't get to stand up here and be on camera. If you could all come up here and be acknowledged. Did any of you want to say anything? You're welcome to if you. This is your
We know you can write. So.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Enjoy the refreshments, and hope you get the chance to talk to some of you during the afternoon. Thank you.
Congratulations. Great job. Great job.